best boxing content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and punch that bell for notifications.
Overlooked Lattimore in the first fight, lost his ground, was a #1 contender. He was suspended after that fight, tested positive for marijuana tonight. He says he is ready. 24-year-old DeAndre Lattimore burst onto the junior middleweight scene from the Midwest on the bright lights of New York back in 08. 20-2, 16 knockouts.
Well, we're going to have a barn burner of a fight, and we might. We definitely have the right referee in place. Steve Smogel, who's been involved in many, many tremendous fights and many tremendous fights on our air, and I don't think it's an accident. He allows guys, he keeps control, but without being seen all the time. He allows guys to fight.
And he was the referee of undoubtedly the #1 fight in Friday Night Fights history in terms of pure action, Emmanuel Augustus and Mickey Ward. So round #1 scheduled for 12.
Again, both guys hurt each other with left hands the first time, and Powell did not have an answer for the uppercut of Lattimore. Let's see if he's found that answer.
Get to the inside for a moment. They're both firing off left hands.
You know, this might be funny, and I'm going to say it early on, about the guy who's lost the first time these two met, but I think that Powell might be a little bit better technically, which I think can give him an edge, because if you're better technically, you have more options, more things you can do. We'll see if that pans out with Lattimore. It's such a different position. Oh boy, how things changed, Joe. In the first time these two met in New York City, you know, Powell was on top of the hill. He thought he was just going to walk down the hill and collect the win.
Against a guy from the Midwest who they thought, hey, he's got padded record.
Yeah, exactly. And now he's on the bottom of the hill, and he's got to go up the hill and grab the win. And he's got to do it against a guy who has a lot more confidence than he had the first time.
Lattimore just off the mark with that left hand, and then Powell comes back with a right-left of his own. Powell's had a very interesting career. He was involved at one point with a rare double knockdown that came against K9 Bundridge. Both fighters knocked down simultaneously. Saku would score another knockdown in that first round with a left hand and get the TKO.
You know, I think that Lattimore thinks of himself as a more physical fighter, the stronger fighter. And I think because of that, you're going to see him press forward and try to be the more active guy in close.
That's it. Let it get out.
You can see on the inside, Powell is not afraid to tie up. He likes to be on the outside for the most part, Powell. He likes to use his technique, use his brain a little bit. He likes to counterpunch. Lure you in a little bit like that and counter with the right hook.
There's a right hook from Lattimore.
I believe it's the temperament of Powell, for the most part, Joe, to be careful. You know, he's not a guy that's going to be a seek and destroy guy. That's not his physical style or his mental makeup. It's to be thoughtful, it's to be slick, it's to do that.
And that's challenging, Teddy, isn't it, in a situation where there's a lot of emotion for him trying to avenge what happened against Lattimore.
That emotion could take him out of character, but not in the first round.
No, he was controlled here. End of one.
Friends a little bit. You know, I know he's being a gentleman. People are going to say, oh, Teddy, but this is a mental game. And it's like Lattimore is saying, hey, we're okay, we're friends, how you doing? Powell did not look to initiate that. Powell looked like the guy that was saying, we're not friends. I have a mission here.
Think about how much was taken from Saku Powell just 2 years ago. Everything was going fine in his career. He had that lofty status. And then Lattimore came to New York. This is a Brooklyn fighter in Powell. And Lattimore came to New York and took it all away.
Again, Powell's style, pot shot a little bit, pick spots, and then he'll give up ground, try to lure you in a little bit, set traps, look to counter, take advantage of your mistakes. I saw a little something that could be disconcerting to Powell's people. Powell looked to grab a moment ago when Lattimore came close, and when he looks to grab, he leaves himself, like right there, he looks to grab, he falls forward, he leaves himself available to Lattimore.
Lattimore scored with that right hook to the top of the head of Powell.
You got the slickster in Powell, and you can see on the inside, he wants to tie up against a straightforward seek and destroy guy right now in Lattimore. If Lattimore wins, it's going to be from aggression. And guess what, Joe? If he loses, it's going to be from aggression.
Yeah, either way, the TV viewer is the winner.
Again, even though revenge is somewhere in the mind of Powell, his temperament is his temperament. People going around, they don't die square. He's still a careful guy.
Big left hands just off the mark from Lattimore.
If Powell's going to get revenge, he's going to do it tonight without his trainer, Angel Rivera. As important as this moment is, Angel Rivera has something just a little bit more important in his life. Him and his wife are expecting their first child back in New York, and Angel is with her.
So Angel's wife due this weekend, but he's very comfortable with Mark Vaz, who has been his longtime advisor and manager. He was formerly trained by Buddy McGirt. Rivera's been back with him the last couple of fights, and now Vaz manning the corner tonight. Also, Peter Manfredo Sr. is assisting in that corner tonight.
Peter Manfredo Sr. does a good job. He's a good character guy. Good, solid person, besides being a teacher.
Of course, he had that big win on Friday Night Fights in the corner of Jesse Brinkley earlier this year. Seen him many times with his son as well. End of 2.
With Lattimore, because Lattimore, when he sees that grabbing, Joe, that groping, Lattimore has an invitation to let his hands go. He's got an open spot.
Significant junior middleweight bout here. A title eliminator. Become a #1 and fight for a belt between the two southpaws, Saku Powell, DeAndre Lattimore. Rematch of the upset Lattimore pulled off 2 years ago. You see the CompuBox numbers. Lattimore outworking Powell right now.
You know, when you see Powell make that grab, that lunge forward, it's a technical flaw, physical flaw, but it's a mental flaw too, because he's showing he doesn't want to really engage you on the inside. He's looking for a little truce. He's looking to tie you up, and he's doing it in a way where he leaves himself in a perilous situation, or he could leave himself in a dangerous situation.
Quick reminder here that Saturday on ABC, coverage is going to start at 2 Eastern with NASCAR Countdown for the Nationwide Series in Bristol, Tennessee. It's the Scott's Turf Builder 300. Once again, Saturday, ABC 2.
This round so far, better round for Powell. I gave the first 2 to Lattimore from aggression, but much better round of ring generalship, navigating for Powell.
And now trading punches in the corner there.
But doing it off good technique, making sure he makes Lattimore miss, gets the openings, and throws them. Again, much better round for Powell. You've seen a great contrast this round in the two styles. Lattimore being aggressive, walking forward, trying to be the physical boss, and Powell being what he is at his best, the slicker guy, the better guy technically. Tying up on the inside, not letting Lattimore use his physicality, moving his head, and looking for spots to counter.
Try to get that right hand in the mix there as a counter. There's a left uppercut from Lattimore that Powell was able to get away from.
If there was one thing I would suggest to Powell and his people, I would say don't stay on the ropes too long. Then you're giving Lattimore just a landing strip we talk about all the time to do what he can do. Use his physicality. And again, you see Powell, he's on the ropes, but he's being smart. He's got good vision. He's looking for openings. He's looking to turn some of the offensive Lattimore, turn it around on him, spit it back at him, make him miss, make him pay.
Powell just stepping out of range of that left hand. Now back to the jab from the southpaw. Left hand came behind an old 1-2 from Saku Powell.
Good boxing again this round by Powell, using the jab, pot shotting a little bit, and using defense to set up offense.
Shaping up to be a good one.
Yeah, I think so. I look forward to it. I think you're going to see the size, because Godfrey's a bigger guy, the size and strength of Godfrey against the speed and the big punch numbers of Cunningham and the great heart and fire of Cunningham. He fights with fire.
Guy who fights with fire, and Saku Powell learned it a couple years ago, is DeAndre Lattimore. Lattimore, Ring Magazine #4 at junior middleweight right now, trying to maintain his status while Powell's trying to get it all back. Well, here comes Powell now as the aggressor, as he got to Lattimore.
Well, again, his better technique is serving Powell the last round and continuing this round. He makes Lattimore miss and he makes him pay.
Powell settled in nicely at the beginning of the third round. And now Steve Smoder, Double S, going to take care of the mouthpiece of DeAndre Lattimore.
Thanks, guys.
Saw that left hand. Press the eject button on that mouthpiece.
The left hand and the counterpunch left hand again by Powell, using Lattimore's aggression against him.
There's a good one, too.
That's where he should not be, Powell. And we talked about it 2 rounds ago. Not laying on the ropes. Again, if a punch is an airplane, it needs a landing strip. And Powell just gave Lattimore that landing strip, that runway, to bring the plane down.
That was a strong combination by the heavy-handed DeAndre Lattimore. And Teddy, I loved what he did after throwing the combination. He went to the body twice.
Yeah, well, we talked about that a little bit in the fight plan, and I think it's a good idea for Lattimore to go to the body. First of all, Lattimore's the stronger guy. Use that strength by going downstairs to your opponent, but also because your opponent is slick. He's moving his head. The one thing that will not move, the body. Go find it.
This is a back-and-forth round. Powell started hot, then got tagged in the midst of the round, and now mounting a late comeback here in the final minute.
You know, Lattimore got some good advice in the corner from his trainer, Jose Ponce. I was listening to him in between rounds. He said, stop walking in and looking for one shot. Come in behind that jab. If you come in behind the jab, you're going to keep Powell a little defensive-minded. He can't do the counter-punching he was doing early. And that jab has served Lattimore. It's not as much as I think his corner would like to see, but it's getting him into position where he's having a great round now.
Good looking rounds here, good action. We'll come back and show you some highlights. Stay with us, be back in a moment. They were both in Jermaine Taylor's camp. Then they became rivals in the ring 2 years ago when Powell overlooked Lattimore, and Lattimore used that upset win to springboard himself to a title shot. He lost a split decision to Corey Spinks. Now the rematch here tonight in what is a critical fight in the careers of both men.
You know, both guys, you can make an argument they're made for each other. I know that sounds crazy, but, you know, Powell likes to counterpunch. Lattimore walks in, gives you chances to counter. He doesn't lay back. Lets you take advantage sometimes of his aggression.
No, that's what makes for a good rematch, right? If not, you know, good trilogy, guys that are made for each other. Vasquez Marquez 4 was announced this week, and 2 guys that were made for each other.
And Lattimore, you know, the reason why I say Powell is made for him, Lattimore likes to be the stronger guy, so he's fighting a guy who likes to box, a guy who's not going to challenge him physically, a guy who gives him a chance to be the boss, a guy who lets him stalk him a little bit and gives him a chance to go to that body. If there was a demerit to hand out a quarter of the way through this fight, I'd hand out one demerit, Joe, to Lattimore.
What is it?
He's not going to the body enough, and he should use his jab more. Again, when you use your jab against a guy who's looking to counter, you take some of that countering away. You take some of that pot shotting away. You stabilize him. Lattimore needs to do that, and again, should go downstairs and take some of the air out of those radials that are moving Powell around the ring.
Yeah, right now he's having a tough time finding the target of the elusive Brooklynite. There he comes with a straight left hand.
Great contrast again. You see on the inside, Lattimore wants to work, Powell wants to tie up.
Yeah, and he did it in a very slick way, too.
Again, the guy who wants to be physical, Lattimore, the guy who wants to be slick, the man with the red fringe on his trunk. Who's going to be more consistent with their style? Not enough pressure, I don't think, Joe, being applied by Lattimore. If you're the physical or the physically superior guy, as Lattimore feels he is, well, the only way that you're going to express that is by being aggressive. If you're not, you're allowing the slicker guy to have the kind of landscape he wants. He left alone, be a little smarter, be a little cuter. In this round, that's been Powell.
Coming to the end of 5 here on Friday Night Fights.
Off track a little bit, looking for the knockout, waiting for the knockout to happen a little bit in the other rounds. Then he got himself together, scored a couple more knockdowns, stopped him. A very tough guy in the 5th round. I liked a lot of the things he's doing and that he did, and I was very proud of him. But as a teacher who's never satisfied, there were still things that I want to see done more consistently. I'd like to see the jab used a little bit more, not lay in front as much as he was in some spots. Use the jab to create more opportunities. And he made some great moves, making more or miss. But sometimes he didn't always pull the trigger on the offense and make them pay. But all in all, I thought he did a good job, and I thought the round served him.
Well, the heavyweight division obviously could use Alexander Povetkin and Eddie Chambers to step forward here, because it is becoming just the Klitschko show, and I think it speaks volumes that an American is fighting the heavyweight champion of the world this weekend, and it is not being televised in this country. The division is suffering badly. Round number 6 here, a minute in. DeAndre Lattimore, Saku Powell. There's the jab by Powell. It's been more steady and consistent since the start of the 3rd round. Doubles it up and sends a straight left hand to try to split that guard.
Again, you got one guy looking to walk in, one guy looking to catch him walking in. Who's going to win that battle? I'll tell you right now, I'll give you a little tip, Joe. The guy walking in, he better walk in behind the jab. You know, we're cut now in the corner of the right eye of Lattimore.
You know, we talked early on about all the emotion with this rematch. Saku Powell has done a very good job of managing that. He wants nothing more than to get a win tonight and to look spectacular in doing it and avenge that loss to DeAndre Lattimore. But he's fighting controlled and he's boxing smart and well.
And he better stay off the ropes. You want to get a good judge or good idea of whether or not Lattimore can grab this fight by the throat. Just watch how he performs on the inside. If he allows himself to be tied up, Joe, not good. Because he has to be the guy on the inside who's the stronger guy, the busier guy. If he fights through it on the inside and finds ways to punch, doesn't allow himself to be tied up, then you gotta like Lattimore to grab this fight.
Coming to the halfway point of an entertaining main event gives us a chance to check in with Brian Kenny in the Friday Night Fight studio. Round 7 of our IBF title eliminator. Saku Powell, DeAndre Lattimore. Lattimore dealing with a cut above that right eye.
And the man in charge of taking care of that is Jerry Lee Shock. Right now, besides the fighter, he's the most important man in the house.
CompuBox stats show a slight edge for Saku Powell. Teddy's scorecard has it even.
I'm looking for two things here that's going to tell me the rest of the fight as far as the stock of Lattimore. Does he jab on his way in or does he just walk in? If he walks in, he's going to get counterpunched. He's going to get pot-shotted all night long, as he did right there. The other thing is when Lattimore gets in close, again, does he find a way to work or does he let himself get tied up? And give Powell credit. He understands what's in the mind of Lattimore, Joe. And Lattimore wants to get him into a stationary position and work that body, put stuff together on the inside, and Powell making those little moves off the rope.
Good snap jab off the hip from Powell. Now doubles it up, that right hand. Left hand tried to get around the guard.
I think the philosophy right now, a little bit of Powell, has to be a little bit of the thinking in the lines of the late, great comedian Richard Pryor, who used to say, legs don't fail me now.
And now you can see Lattimore having a much tougher time of finding the target.
And again, one of the reasons why Lattimore's having problems finding the target, not jabbing on his way in enough, as he gets pot-shotted as he just walks in with his gloves up, and not going to the body enough. You want to slow down a guy like Powell, go downstairs. Don't chase upstairs. He's looking for the punches upstairs, as he does there, and he's looking to make you miss.
Powell controlling the 7th round with his legs and with that right jab. First round of that fight also caused a cut to Spinks, would lose a split decision. Lattimore trying to get back in position to get another big paycheck. This is a title eliminator against Saku Powell, who has been controlling the middle rounds of this fight, boxing well, moving well, and jabbing.
Not only does the cut man now in the corner of Lattimore need to use coagulants, which is either adrenaline or thrombin or avatine to stem the flow of blood, but he needs to get some ice or the end swell on that eye because it's swelling quickly.
That can become more of an issue than the cut itself if it closes that eye.
And if that eye continues to close, and it's closing right in front of us, I would look for Powell. If I'm in the corner of Powell, I'd say, hey, start letting that left hand go. Because he can't see that side. You know, he's not going to be able to really put that radar and pick it up on the screen. And again, the left hand of Powell is the hand that will be able to get across on that side where Lattimore's eye is starting to have less and less vision. Again, Powell doing the smart thing on the inside. Takes the stronger, more physical guy, ties him up. And again, I touched on it earlier, Joe. You want to know whether or not to invest in stock of Lattimore in this fight? Just watch the inside. If he allows himself to be tied up, sell. Sell. If he doesn't allow himself to be tied up, buy.
Powell just landed a left hand to that cut eye, and then on the inside, I mean, this is exactly what you don't want if you're a Lattimore backer, allowing Powell to tie up that right hand.
No, I can hear Jerry Kramer going now. You know, sell. That's the guy that does that stock. Kramer. I can see him yelling right now. Okay, we're selling. We're not buying.
Little Mad Money reference from you, Teddy. I like it.
A little grabbing behind the neck there
And then trying to land the uppercut.
Exactly. That shows me a little frustration. He's thinking a little bit, but a little frustration. Grabbing behind the head, trying to hold the tricky Powell still so he can hit him with an uppercut.
4 rounds to go, and Powell seemingly in control of these middle rounds. We're at the Choctaw Nation Event Center, and a good main event between Saku Powell and DeAndre Lattimore. Let's look at Teddy's scorecard, and I really think you could start to see this trend develop. In round 3, Powell found his groove, and in the middle rounds, all going Saku's way as he was boxing beautiful.
And being given a little help, as the Beatles song says, not from his friends, but from his opponent. No jab from Lattimore. It's a lot easier to box on the outside when there's no jab coming at you. And it's a lot easier to use your ring, navigate around the ring with your legs when nobody's going to your body.
Three-punch combination from Powell, and Lattimore tried to use it as an opportunity to fire back.
From Lattimore, since it looks like he's got it in his mind to look for one punch, he's not using his jab to set up body work and to do the things I think he needs to do. If he's going to keep it in his mind to look for one shot, if I'm Lattimore, when I get close, I'm looking for the uppercut. I know from the past, Powell has been hit with that punch.
Got hit with it pretty solid in her first fight.
You can't throw an uppercut or any other punch if you allow your opponent to tie you up.
And that's what Powell's been doing, of just smothering and putting a wet blanket on the fire of DeAndre Lattimore when he's gotten to the inside.
No jab from Lattimore, and what does Powell do? He snaps off a couple punches before Lattimore gets close.
Lattimore missing with that free-swinging left hand. Back to the jab for Powell. You can see the swelling on that right eye. Cut opened up in the 6th round on the right eye of DeAndre Lattimore, and now the swelling is developed 3 rounds removed. Left hand got in the mix there. That's the target for that right eye. Lattimore tries to come with the straight left hand, misses with a right hook. Got to work in this spot, Teddy.
And not allow himself to be tied up. He's cooperating with Powell instead of arguing with him on the inside.
Friday Night Fights main event coming to the end of round 9.
As I suggested early in the night, take a look at the first round. At the end of the first round was the die cast. Right there, you saw that Lattimore looked to touch gloves with Powell. Powell had an attitude like, I'm here to win a fight, not make friends, not touch gloves. We can do that later. That seemed to be the theme that was set early on, the theme of seriousness of Powell that has really rung true all night long, Joe.
In the corner of Lattimore, after that 9th round, trying to turn things around, he heard a big earful of, these are the rounds we want, this is the place we want to hit, we will go out and get it. Meanwhile, the corner of Powell basically telling Saku, hey, just do what you've been doing. Double up the jab, you don't have to load up, utilize your speed. But Lattimore getting an earful.
Right now, Powell has been navigating himself to rounds. He's like a conductor in an orchestra. You know, he's moving everything the way he wants to move it. He's moving the horns over here, the string instruments over here, the concussion instruments. There's plenty of concussion instruments in boxing. He's moving them over here. You know, he's conducting his way to a victory.
Jab to the midsection, staying out of danger, picking his spots.
Maestro, please. You know, I wouldn't mind doing that. I mean, that'd be a nice piece. Wouldn't it, really? When you're looking at this thing and you understand the theme of what's been going on here, just put the right music to it and, you know, show a conductor. I mean, I think
that's what Powell's been doing, orchestrating. And there's a good straight left hand that scores well.
Again, I'd be looking for more left hands.
The right eye's getting worse on Lattimore.
Down the stretch here, Joe, if I was Powell, because of that right eye. Closing and closing.
Look at that. You see the cut, but it's the swelling that's becoming a real issue.
And you see another issue, too. You see some frustration a little bit starting to show in Lattimore. Maybe a little discouragement in the body language of Lattimore. Again, he gets inside and he allows himself to be tied up. Good for Powell, bad for Lattimore. If you're the guy behind, I don't have to tell you, you don't want to be tied up when you have to catch up on the inside.
2 rounds to go. There's Ring Magazine's #4 and ESPN.com's #8 junior middleweight in the world, DeAndre Lattimore. He has those rankings for now. Come 6 minutes, it could all go away if Shakoo Powell can continue to do what he's been doing since about the 5th round.
Anybody talk about conditioning now down the stretch? Lattimore coming in 3/4 of a pound, not much, but 3/4 a pound heavier than their first match. Powell coming in the same weight.
Their first fight was an upset by Lattimore. 7th round TKO back in June 2008. Powell's been stewing, been running the attack.
That left hand, we talk about
hand.
the fight plan. And why was it there? Because Powell left his head over on the left side. Dangerous lane to be hanging out with your head laying on that left side when you're fighting a southpaw.
So still plenty of time for Lattimore if he can score like that. Let's see if he comes back with the left hand.
Well, the opening, the opportunity has been there a couple times this round, Joe. Again, Powell has that habit. Usually when he backs up near the rope, he lays his head over on his left side. Perfect lane for the left hand of Lattimore. There it is again. That time you could see Powell moved his head back to the right side. That's what I think he needs to do to correct that mistake. Instead of laying the head over on the left, bend your legs and weave back. There it is again. Laying his head on the left, he gets hurt.
And Powell tries to wrap up. Minute 15 to go, and Lattimore has had a couple moments in this round where he's hurt Shakoo Powell.
In the same moment, the left hand moment.
And that right eye of Lattimore is almost swollen shut. He's doing this with one eye and at desperate times, an urgency here as he probably knows what happened in the middle goings of this fight on the scorecards.
Again, you know Lattimore's looking for that spot where Powell lays his head over on the left. There's only one thing he's got to add to it, though, Joe. He's behind in this fight. You land the left hand, put something with it. Stop the mentality of one punch. Right now, you need 2 or 3. You're behind.
I think it's going to set up for a fine-looking 12th round, though, don't you, Teddy, with the way Lattimore goes after it and knowing where he stands here in this fight?
Yeah, I agree, Joe, especially if the corner is sharp and on top of themselves and has seen what they need to see.
Well, let's listen into the corner of DeAndre Lattimore. Powell said, I was looking past him the first time they fought. Now he's looking right at him, and what he sees in DeAndre Lattimore is a fighter who's probably desperate with that swollen right eye, having been outboxed in the middle rounds. Now 3 minutes to go in his title eliminator. Teddy's scorecard has Powell in control. Will he coast home to a victory and get back to where he once belonged in the rankings, or can DeAndre Lattimore pull it off with his power punching?
Going to be the left hand, I believe, if Lattimore's going to pull this out of the fire. And it's going to be the jab in the legs of Powell if Lattimore's not going to get that chance.
Powell ties up, fills a little clock, gets out of danger on the inside. You see Lattimore trying to load up there with the left hand.
I see a little awareness of Powell. I'll give him credit. I just saw him leave his head a moment ago over on the left, but he took his shoulder and tucked it into his chin. Kind of like somebody putting his overcoat on when he realizes he's out in the cold. Says, hey, let me pull the collar up a little bit. It's chilly here. It's just me, but if I'm Lattimore, I know I'm desperate. I know I need a knockout, or probably need a knockout to win. I'm throwing a left hand to the body of the guy who's moving on me. See if I can land it, Joe. And then, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bend, like I'm going to throw it to the body again. I'm going to throw a bomb with everything upstairs. See if I catch him.
That would be great if he could pull that off and get it done. Hit that jackpot.
And again, there's Powell falling in, but he got away with it.
Can Powell hold on in the last minute here? Lattimore, hard charging. Powell escapes.
You know, we're talking about the left hand is there for Lattimore, but the left hand is also there for Powell, and he hasn't used it with that eye, the right eye of Lattimore, just about shut.
DeAndre now on the inside, and Powell ties up for a moment. Final 20 seconds. Lattimore trying to get after Powell, utilizing the legs in that ring. One last chance, and there's the bell. Shakur Powell, confident that he avenged the upset loss from 2008.
And now our decision. Judge Dave Sutherland scores the bout 117 to 111, Powell. Judge Chris Flores scores the bout even at 114. And Judge Gerald Ritter scores the bout 116 to 112. Your winner by majority decision out of the red corner, Shakur Powell.
You know, those first two scores, I didn't really see them. You know, one was a little too far, and then the other one, the even score, I didn't see that. The last score, I could agree with. But the final result, the right result.